Welcome back to We All Play Cast, and we are on to Thaumcraft Part 3, where we're finally getting into our research, and I'm just going to get started with it. So to do all the research in Thaumcraft, we're going to use an item. This is always the tongue twister, but it is the Quaesitum. Quaesitum, that's how we'll say it. Alright, we'll show you how to craft this. It's nothing too bad. You just have to make sure that it can be a difficult item to obtain. It's actually an ink sac because with bow creatures, it's kind of hard to find. Some of the squids out there sometimes. But in the middle of the ocean is where I found mine, and just grabbed a few of those, and it works pretty well. We also need a glass bottle in the center, which is crafted by just making 3 glass across the top. So that's a pretty simple recipe. We'll also need a feather. I believe I have a few left over here, and then gold bars across the middle, and then stone across the bottom. And that makes our Quaesitum. Alright, and this is going to be used as our primary research. It is where we do all of our research in Thaumcraft, is on this recipe. And just as a little side note, I got a couple improvements. I had a big, poor me moment, but I made my entire Thaumcraft area out of trees, and I was clearing a little bit out to build myself an area to put the Quaesitum, and yeah, I used an axe and the whole thing fell down. So if the attentive people may note, I have something a little bit different. But as I was building it back up, I came up with this arrangement for the silverwood trees as kind of building it into the architecture, and it's working out really well for me. And from my previous episode of the aura, you can see it's still positively affecting the aura. And so everything's looking pretty good. Alright, and to be honest, I kind of made this, here, I'll just zoom out so everybody can take a peek, but I made this almost like vertical forest. I just put some dirt blocks down, and then I put some saplings and grew them up, and I think it looks really cool. It almost looks a little bit more magical. Okay, so on to this episode here, starting our research. I built this little area here because, just like an enchantment table, the Quaesitum is... I guess I can't put it on glowstone block, so I'll have to put it on something else. The Quaesitum is a item that will use the knowledge from the books to increase our chances of success. Alright, so let's throw this down here, and let's take a look at the interface. As you can see, the little words are flying off the shelves and into the Quaesitum. Okay, now this interface is a little tricky at first. I'm just going to go ahead over here, and I made myself some paper. I'm going to need a lot more paper, that's for sure. But paper is our primary source. That's going to go up here in this slot, and it's pretty good to just keep 64 kind of at all times up here. And this right here has the nice little graphic, is our primary research item. Now, we can pretty much put anything we want in here. I'll just throw a gold bar. As you can see, it starts off right away as long as I have the paper in there. And it gave us a percentage chance. Let's do it again, and our percent is 7% success rate. And as you can see, the failure rate is pretty high. In this case, it is 75%, and I'm losing them like constant. These are gold bars. Now, what these other 2 slots here are kind of booster items, so we can put some items in here, and that's going to boost our chances based on the research value that's here. Now, there's a couple of items that are really, really good for this that you can get kind of in mass quantities, and one of them is a pumpkin, and one of them is the melons. Those are really good. That's actually going to be my very next episode. Is we're going to create ourselves an automatic melon farm just for the purpose, or actually a pumpkin farm because I already found pumpkins, but automatic pumpkin farm so we can have a plentiful supply of this. Another thing that's really, really good is books. Books are a really good thing to throw in the boosting slots, and putting those in there will increase our chances. And it's kind of one of those things where the higher value the item, the higher the chance that you'll get something. And as you can see, it's an easy way to waste all your items because I just lost everything on that, and it really didn't do anything. So what I usually like to do, what I usually like to do with this is get something that of like really low value and something that I have a lot of. And since I got the quarries going, and I have a lot of it, we're going to grab a bunch of cobblestone. That's what we're going to research. It does have an extremely low success rate, but because this is kind of an automatic process, I could just throw it in here and just let it go. And if you watch it closely, it'll start to drain these all down, and I'll let that go for just a little bit until I get to the next step, and I'm just going to keep my cobblestone in here so I can keep the research going at all times. Alright, I'll go ahead and pause the video there until I get something of, something of use here out of this cobblestone. Okay, it looks like we got 3 fragments of lost knowledge, which is a good start. And this is the first step to any kind of research. So we're going to have to research this again to get a theory, and then finally we need to research that theory to get a discovery. Okay, so here's where we go. I'm going to throw this in there, and one thing I should note is that when you put these... Oh, jeez. What do we got? What do we got? Zombiegram. Come in, buddy. Door's open. It's cool. It's cool. Come on. Alright, everybody alright though? Alright, very good. Okay. One thing to note is once it doesn't use up any paper unless it comes up with an item. So that's when the paper will get used. And during the break there I also went through and I harvested, I don't know if everybody noticed, but sugarcane's a little lower than it was. So I did harvest and make a bunch more paper because we're going to need this for a bunch of things. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the books, because these are really good for our research value, and I'm going to put them in our bonus slots here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I really want to get something out of these fragments of knowledge. And as you can see, we're at 37%, which is decent. There was 1 down. We didn't get anything. Alright, now we got 7 league boots as a tricky item. Self-repair enchantment, trivial. And as you can see, sometimes you lose it, sometimes you don't. That time we lost it. I'm going to try to throw something in here. Quickly now. Okay, so it looks like we didn't get it. So we got 2 things. And now, the difficulty of this, it really kind of is the success versus failure rate. You can get the same theory again with a different difficulty, and I don't really think it matters what the recipe is. If you find one that's like tricky or like the other levels are hard, and one's like torturous, and I never touch anything with torturous. So let's take a look at self-repair enchantment. It's not going to do us a whole lot of good right now, but we can go ahead and try to research it. How about we do this? I'm going to grab some paper as our bonus item, and we'll just kind of show you that now that we have a theory, what this is really going to take. So I'll put half here and half here. Let's try this. As you can see, these 4 dots appear, and then there's a 85% success rate, and you see how that had to go 4 times through those dots in order to get our discovery. Now that we got our discovery, right click, and as you can see, you can now make a self-repair enchantment. Items imbued with this enchantment will slowly repair themselves over time. It's a good enchantment, not going to do us a lot of good right now though, because we don't have the other items that are required. Now what I normally do is, once I've got a discovery, I'll go ahead and throw it up here. And another thing to notice is that this has a little blue band around it in the graphic. That means that it is a discovery of lost knowledge, which would be like anything you'd get from common items. There's also forbidden knowledge, tainted knowledge, and eldritch knowledge. Typically what I like to try to do is to stay with the tainted items and the lost items first, because they tend to have the things that are required for other things. So you need to get this particular type of item before you can create this next one, that sort of thing. Alright, so we got that, and that doesn't do us so much good. Let's take a look at the 7 league boots. These are pretty cool, and as you can see, success rate of 32. It's going a little bit slower than it was on the trivial one. And as you can see, that time it was success, so we did get 1 of these dots here. That one failed, but there's a chance that we will lose a dot when it fails, and a chance that we don't lose a dot. That time we lost it, so it's kind of back to normal. Now, the good thing is it's a very, very low chance that you'll actually lose the theory, so you can kind of let this thing sit and do its thing for a while. And I'm just going to throw a few more paper in here just to make sure that we get that item. Now we're back up to 1. And that boosted us to 39%. Finally, 7 league boots. So you can see the weight of the difficulty makes a pretty big difference of how quickly you can make a recipe or not. So now we can make 7 league boots. So let's take a look what this takes. So these takes the boots of striding, which is one of our base items, takes a vaporous crystal, and a feather. So let's go ahead and grab a feather. It's over here in our other base crafting area. That's where I've kept all my feathers. And I'm not 100% sure if the durability needs to be completely full, but if it does, we'll just heal those up real quick. I'll go ahead and take off my 7 league boots. And we'll put our 7 league boots in here, and our feather, and then we need our vaporous crystal, which should be over here. And while my boots are off, I'm running super slow. Back to normal. As I said before, I get really spoiled. Alright, so it doesn't look like the durability needs to be all the way up when crafting this item, just to have them in general. Alright, and that gives us our 7 league boots. Now let's take a look at these. I mentioned before that there are our upgrades, and one of our first ones is that we do get our upgrades. So let's take a look at what these do. Speed's about the same, but look at the jump height. Oh my god. Wow. I just jumped completely. I cleared that tree. I didn't even touch anything. Wow. So these are an upgrade, and I'm going to be even a little bit more spoiled now that I have those. Okay, and that's the basics of how we do some research. I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 more, and it doesn't matter if they're repeats or not, but I'm going to grab 2 more discoveries, and I'll show you why in just a moment. And I'll be right back once I have those. Okay, and I'm back, and I got a few more discoveries. First one that I got was a concentrated Vis discovery, which I'll actually talk about in just a second. And the other one is a Thaumic Generator. Thaumic Generator is pretty cool, and as you can see, I just learned that recipe. And that it's really cool. It'll transmute Vis into any other type of power, which means it can do industrial craft, red power, bluetricity, or buildcraft MJ. It's not very efficient, and I tend not to use this. It does have some cool uses if needed, but this is precious Vis. I don't want to take that out of the atmosphere and use that to power my quarries or anything like that. But it's still a pretty cool item. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about today is going to be what's called a this is always the tongue twister episode. I always love this one. It's a Thaumonomicon. Like, too many syllables in it. So we'll just take a look at that. It is a T-H-A-U-M, so you try to pronounce it. Thaumonomicon. Alright, there you go. But as you can see, it will have a book, and you can surround it by any recipe. Wow, look at that. It actually shows a little spoiler there. Look at that. And it doesn't matter what type of discoveries. That could be from any of the schools of Forbidden, Eldritch, or Lost Knowledge, just as long as it's surrounding a book, and that will create that tome. And I'll just show you real quick how that's all going to work. So I'm going to grab our 4 discoveries that are here, and we'll just go down to a crafting table and craft our Thaumonomicon. So there you go. Alright, we got that, we got that, we got that, and a book. And that makes our Thaumonomicon. Alright, and this is basically a dictionary of all the recipes that you have discovered. So if you take a look at our Lost Knowledge, it has the recipe for it, where you need to put it. As you can see, this is 140 V's, that's quite a bit. And imbues the item, or that's the repair. And you can kind of scan through all the recipes that you have discovered. And you can also go through your different schools of Lost, Forbidden, Tainted, and Eldritch Knowledge. Okay, so I think we're going to call the video there. And, yeah, I'm not going to do the concentrated V's. Basically what that is if I make one of those, that is a way to positively affect an aura. It's essentially just throwing down V's straight into the aura. So if I make that bottle, it'll take the ones that I've created and put it out into the aura, but I want to keep it in liquid V's right now. So that's the end of our episode today, and if you like it, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more of this series, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.